Williams as a DJ for the armed forces in Good Morning Vietnam. Eddie Murphy, Raw, is the comedian's latest concert film. And Bill Cosby is a master secret agent brought back from retirement in Leonard Part 6. It's all coming up next on Siskel and Ebert.
Right now, we've got our traffic report up there on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. How's it going up there?
Adrian, it's not going exactly well. There's a water buffalo jackknife up there. It's not a very pretty picture. There's horns everywhere. I don't know what to say. We're going to maybe drop in a little napalm there and try and cook him down, maybe a little barbecue.
Robin Williams plays a wacky Armed Forces radio disc jockey who is loved by the men but hated by the brass in Good Morning Vietnam. It's one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week, and I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film, Good Morning Vietnam, is the answer to a lot of moviegoers' prayers at long last. Even though he was very good in Moscow on the Hudson, Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam has finally found a film worthy of his talent as an improvisational comic genius, and it's a very good film overall, too. Williams plays an irreverent disc jockey assigned during 1965, in the relatively early days of Vietnam, to take over a tired disc jockey slot on Armed Forces Network. The film mixes period music, a wide range of soldiers in cities and in the field, and at the center is Robin Williams with his hilarious fake interviews of soldiers he's met in the field.
Talking out the field today. Hi, what's your name?
My name's Bob Fibber.
Bob, what do you do?
I'm in artillery.
Thank you, Bob. Can we play anything for you?
Anything, just play it loud, okay?
Funny stuff in between the jokes. The shots of the men and the ironic music talking about love in a time of killing is very effective. Williams this time makes a joke about a fashion designer criticizing the soldiers' tacky camouflage combat uniform.
Hey, come on, baby, let's play. Game of
Right now, it's Mr.
Leo. He's a fashion consultant for the Army.
Well, thank you, Adrian. I'm just very happy to be here. I want to tell you something. You know, this whole camouflage thing for me doesn't work very well.
Why is that?
Well, because you go in the jungle, I can't see you. You know, it's like wearing stripes and plaid. It's for me, I want to do something different. You know, you go in the jungle, make a statement. If you're going to fight, clash.
Williams has a bunch of funny and tender relationships with other soldiers, including his best buddy, a jolly black soldier named Garlic, who joins in a discussion about who's going to entertain the troops.
Who do we have slated for live entertainment in November?
Well, we originally wanted Bob Hope, but it turns out he won't come.
Why not?
He doesn't play police actions, just wars. Bob likes a big room, sir.
He's a wonderful character. Forrest Whitaker there playing Edward Garlic, and a wonderful presence in the film, gradually gaining more and more confidence as a character and more prominence as the film progresses. There's also a battle royale between the good general and a bad master sergeant over Robin Williams and just how irreverent he should be. And for all of its comedy, Good Morning Vietnam is a touching film, too, because director Barry Levinson, who did Diner and The Natural, other fine films, very quietly keeps cutting into shots of the newsroom teletape, showing the progress of the war in terms of how many soldiers, 150 soldiers, 200,000 soldiers, 400,000 soldiers, as we commit more and more American troops to the action. That's a fine touch in a fine film with a great performance by Robin Williams.
I agree with almost everything you say, and it is the movie that Robin Williams has been waiting to make and that people who think he's brilliant have been waiting to see.
Yes.
There's one facet of the film that I'd like to talk about because it fascinated me so much, and this has nothing to do with the war, curiously enough. It's the betrayal of that character. He plays a guy who is all words. There is a wall between whoever is inside that character and his words. He uses the humor, he uses the stand-up comedy, he uses the one-liners, he uses the patter to hold people off. And at the end of the movie, curiously enough, we know a lot about the personalities of all of the supporting characters, but that central Robin Williams character is still a complete mystery. There was just no glimpse into it, and that to me is brilliant because it shows a certain kind of comic personality that I haven't seen in the movies before, where the comedians are using the humor to say, don't look inside, I'm going to keep you laughing the whole time.
Yeah, the only problem is there is one scene where he does let some emotion come through, and that's when he visits the soldiers out in the truck, and it's quite emotional, and we see a little of him being heroic, and that, oddly enough, is the one scene that I thought, sure, it's easy. It was easy.
It went on
emotion.
too long.
It was
it
easy
went on way too long.
Right.
They're stuck in a traffic jam, and he starts entertaining the troops. The point could have been made briefly, and it goes on and on and on, maybe because they wanted to keep all of his ad-libs.
Well, I think they wanted to make him a little more of a hero. They didn't need to. It's that good of a performance.
Okay, it is that good of a performance. Okay, next movie, and our next movie is not only the first feature in a long time, starring television's top star, Bill Cosby, but it is also one of the worst movies of the year. In fact, I think I could just take my little mental editor and take out the words "one of" and just call it the worst movie of the year, because it's really such a cynical exercise. And don't take even my word for it. Bill Cosby himself has gone on talk shows to denounce this film. The movie stars Cosby as a former CIA agent who is now a millionaire San Francisco restaurant owner when he's called out of retirement to battle an evil villainous plot to conquer the world by attacking her enemies with trained small creatures like frogs, squirrels, and rainbow trout. Cosby knows he's in trouble when hitmen attack him in the kitchen of his restaurant.
Go easy, Monroe.
Yeah, that's right. You can really turn your head and see where a bullet is ricocheting. Later, Cosby goes into battle as kind of a one-man fighting machine.
Thick door.
And no matter what he fires at it, the door doesn't go down. How funny. The door is still there. How hilarious. How highly, highly humorous. Maybe at some point there was an original inspiration for a good comedy here. I don't know. They certainly were not reluctant to spend a lot of money looking ridiculous in this movie, and sometimes that works, but not this time. The whole movie is a mess, and even though Cosby has disowned it, he cannot escape all the blame. I don't think so. In one scene, his 20-year-old daughter brings home a 66-year-old man that she wants to marry. Cosby is appalled. This guy is robbing the cradle. What does he do? He calls for a sandwich and a Coke. And then he holds the Coke bottle prominently next to his face for the rest of the scene. First it says Coca-Cola, then the next shot it says Coke, in case you missed the point. Who released this movie? Columbia. Who owns Columbia? Coca-Cola. What is Coca-Cola doing with this movie? They have a lot of products in this movie, Gene, that you can get a tie-in where you can get the product in connection with buying a ticket for the movie. I think that that is an all-time low. Bill Cosby, the richest man in show business, $67.5 million income last year, reduced to holding a Coca-Cola bottle next to his face in order to get a picture made at Columbia. He ought to be ashamed of himself.
Boy, you're upset. And you know I am too. No, I am too, because this man can be funny.
Yes.
All right, you said he's prostituted himself. I say the fact is he's disappointed his legion of fans. There will be tons of people who will go to this movie. You know, if they've seen him in Uptown Saturday Night or Let's Do It Again with Sidney Poitier years ago, he was funny. Boy, if they go, well, they feel ripped off. It'll be like, you know, getting some of his Jell-O products that he sells and finding out that there's nothing in the box. There's nothing in the can here.
That's right. Cosby owes it to himself. Everybody knows that when you do a weekly television series, you only have a little bit of time every year to make a movie.
Right.
You can make about, it's like Tom Selleck's got the same problem. You can make about one movie a year. But the plus is you got 9 months to have you and your agents look for the right script. If this is the script they found, they ought to start doing a movie every other year.
Or every leap year. Coming up next, Eddie Murphy Raw, which means Eddie Murphy in concert as we have never seen him before on the big screen.
Oh, you know something, girl? Do you know you can take half his money? Did you know you can take half his money? Did you know?
It's called Eddie Murphy Raw, and this is the movie I've been waiting for ever since I heard about it, just after I saw and was disappointed by Beverly Hills Cop 2, because that was Eddie Murphy as a wind-up action toy. But Eddie Murphy Raw is Murphy as Murphy in concert with the rawest of language, and he's never been funnier. For example, he names names at the beginning of his concert, putting down hilariously Michael Jackson, and then he puts down Bill Cosby, even worse than Roger just did a while back. who Murphy tells us, Bill Cosby that is, Bill Cosby called Eddie Murphy one day and told him to clean up his stage act.
And I ran in the house all excited to talk to Bill and picked up the telephone, and Bill got raw on me. I was like, hello, Mr. Cosby? And you hear, I would like to talk to you about some of the things that you do in your show. Now, you cannot say filth, flarn, filth in front of people. And I never said no filth, flarn, filth. He says, you know what I'm talking about. I can't use the type of language that you use, but you know what I mean when I say filth, flarn, filth. And I said, I never said no filth, flarn, filth, and I don't know what you're talking about. I'm offended that you called. F you.
Like some of the greatest confrontational comics around, Eddie Murphy isn't afraid of offending anyone, and he has a long and hilarious tirade against Johnny Carson's former wife and all wives who want half of their husband's wealth at divorce time.
If you have $5 and have to give somebody $250, you'd be upset. Johnny had to have at least $300 million and have to give up $150 million? And they weren't even married but 10 years and $150 million? Give me a break. What? And ladies, no, here's a woman I'm gonna say, right on. No, you can't, baby, that's not fair. Not no $150 million. I see a lot of you ladies sitting there going, get all the money you can. I'm glad she did get all that money. She earned it. She earned it. That you damn right. She was married to him. She deserved that money. Get the out of my face with that bull. No. Stop it.
There's not a lot more that we could show you of Eddie Murphy raw without you hearing more bleeps than words. He's foul, but very funny, talking in brutally honest comedic terms about sex and marriage. The concert tails off at the end somewhat with a tired bit about how badly white people dance. Most of us know that. But more often than not, at least us two, more often than not, Eddie Murphy lives up to the concert film standard set by the man he calls his idol, Richard Pryor. And that is high praise indeed. I really liked Eddie Murphy raw, and I knew that I would. He should release, I think, a concert film every year because the parts that are written for him, by and large, with the exception of 48 Hours, really haven't been that good.
Gene, I don't think this film deserves comparison to Richard Pryor in any way because what Richard Pryor has is insight and sympathy with the humanity of the people that he's making fun of. And that's the one thing that's lacking in this concert film by Eddie Murphy. It's an extremely juvenile film. The humor is extremely callow. You talk about his attack on Johnny Carson's wife. I don't believe anybody could get away with talking about blacks the way that Eddie Murphy talks about women in this film. On the basis of what he says in this film and the way he uses the key four-letter word as a club, this movie hates and despises and puts down and rejects women and sees them only in terms of their sexual function.
Not at all.
Yes,
not at all. No, let me answer.
Yes,
let me answer because the film comes around and goes right back and throws it back at men. Yes, it is more loaded against women than it is against men, but Roger, where is your sense of humor?
It doesn't,
the man is not.
The
man
come
is
around
not.
And throw it at men either.
Yes, it does.
Sees everybody in terms of what takes place right between their belt and their knees.
That's
the only part of the human being that he's interested in. He doesn't have any interest at all in their personalities, in their problems, in their humanity.
One of their problems
is bathroom humor, Gene.
And it's very funny.
Humor.
It's very funny.
It's not that. If you think it's funny, then maybe you need to grow up along with Eddie Murphy.
Oh, Roger,
you can both go to Richard Pryor and learn how to be a little more mature.
No, let me tell you, it is very, very funny. Oddly, people who haven't seen this film are going to agree. Gee, Roger's right. It should be clean. It should be clean.
No, I
you
didn't
really
say it should be clean. I'm not playing to the audience, and I'm not saying it should be clean. I have nothing against four-letter language.
Right.
I love it when Richard Pryor uses it. Richard Pryor uses it as poetry. Eddie Murphy uses it as a bludgeon.
Okay, I disagree with you. I think Richard Pryor is a genius. I think Eddie Murphy is getting there. Coming up next, two orphan girls are raised by their very strange aunt. Their very strange aunt in Housekeeping.
It was nicer with the light off. Isn't that nicer?
Those completely original movies that's so off the wall, it takes a while to get used to it, to figure out what it's doing. But I got used to it so well that I think it's one of the year's best films. The film stars Christine Lottie, one of the most underrated actresses in the world today, as a strange kind of enchanted aunt who arrives in a small town to take care of her two orphan nieces after her sister has committed suicide. She's kind of absent-minded about certain domestic details.
Clearly, our aunt was an unusual person.
To you, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ruby.
She's just always so cool as the world comes apart all around her. And when emergencies strike, like a flood, nothing seems to disturb her. The word goes around town that the two young girls are not exactly being raised properly, and some ladies from the church come to visit.
Do you collect newspapers, Sylvie?
Yeah?
What do you keep them for? Do you read them all?
Yes, I do. Or you can use them to light a fire, or roll them up to swat flies, or for insulation. A lot of things.
If Housekeeping were simply the story of a mentally ill woman, it'd be a much simpler movie. But Aunt Sylvie is not merely strange. She has a whole different world view. She doesn't let things get to her. She doesn't bother herself with a lot of details. She's generally very delighted with life. She looks on the bright side. One of her young nieces identifies with that, and the other one does not, and that choice is the heart of this story. Housekeeping was directed by Bill Forsyth from Scotland, who made some of my favorite movies of recent years, like Gregory's Girl and Comfort and Joy. Remember the ice cream salesman?
We love that.
This is his first movie in America, and it's a good one.
Yes, and he's handled comedy so well, it really comes as a surprise when he tackles his first serious film, and it works too. The interesting character for me, of course, is the aunt, but I also want to focus on the niece, the older girl who sides with the aunt and almost takes her behavior to an extreme. She's very quiet, very much to herself. She doesn't want to play by any rules. Even the aunt is a little too oppressive for her, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if there were room in the world for these kind of people who don't want to play by the rules? I think that's the whole heart of the movie.
Well, what's interesting is that the entire film is told in flashback by the narration of the older girl, the one who apparently is an adult at the time. She remembers these things from the 50s. And yet there's no payoff in which the aunt had to go to the mental home or something tragic happened. The last scene in the movie is the two of them just going off into the world together, and you think, this is interesting. It's a movie that would appear to be about mental illness and isn't. It's really about some people who are just kind of enchanted and magical and make up their own rules.
And thank God we have a few. Coming up next, a strange erotic film about a woman daredevil who wants to jump from an airplane into a flaming net above a volcano. The film is called Siesta.
So you know I pulled some strings and had NASA do some trial readouts on wind direction and velocity. Guess what? They checked out A-OK with all our calculations.
It's called Siesta, starring Ellen Barkin from The Big Easy. She plays a very sensual woman who is a daredevil parachutist about to attempt, with the help of her husband manager Martin Sheen, a leap into a flaming net above an artificial volcano in Death Valley. But before the leap, she gets a letter from an old flame in Spain, and that drives her back to Spain into a crazy world of sex and violence and decadence. First, she meets her old lover's wife, played by Isabella Rossellini. Gabriel Byrne plays the lover.
My marriage is fantastic. I've been married for, 6 years, actually. And I'm as in love as I was the day I was married.
While in Spain, Barkin hangs out with some rich, bored people to whom she pours out her philosophy of life. A desperate fear of, but an attraction to, failure.
If I make a mistake, even a very tiny one, I'm through. The end. The eternal black.
I wouldn't be so sure of that.
Oh, it's the only thing I am sure of. It's what soothes me when I jump. I know that if I make a mistake, I won't have to account for it later.
Now, she's got an interesting mind worth probing, but the film doesn't do that. Too often it gives us pointless interchanges with trivial characters, including a rich, spoiled brat played by Jodie Foster.
Here I am, in a bathroom, utterly pissed, alone on my birthday.
Sounds like a crazy movie, you say? Well, I agree, reluctantly, because if director Mary Lambert had stripped away some of the sideline characters and given us more of the love triangle with Barkin and her old lover and maybe Rossellini, the film would have really worked. Now it's told in flashback, with Barkin waking up blood and bruises all over her body, wondering what happened to her. And that mystery is worth following, I'm afraid, only part of the way in Siesta.
I went through the same sort of change of heart while I was watching the movie. I have seen so many assembly line, no-brainer movies in recent months that as this movie began, I thought, hey, this one is alive.
I did
this
too.
one is trying to do something new and different. This one is not going to just repeat the same old cliches. Then, by the end of the movie, I was thinking, where did it get away? How did it elude us? Because the movie is a real letdown. It starts out with wonderful ideas, and it doesn't pay off. It doesn't really think them through.
The decision to take her into this world where you've got a whole bunch of rich people is really where the film goes completely off track. They've created a very interesting character in Ellen Barkin. I would stay on her, maybe go back to Martin Sheen and her husband, restrict it, tighten it up, and throw away the Playboy characters. They're not interesting.
And without giving it away, I would also say that I thought the ending was sort of a cheat.
You bet.
Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. We both had a great time at Good Morning Vietnam with a superb performance by Robin Williams. 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. 2 thumbs way, way down, though, for Bill Cosby's Leonard Part 6, one of the worst movies this year. We split on Eddie Murphy Raw, which I thought was raw all right, but not inspired. Thumbs down for me. Gene, however, really liked the film and gives it thumbs up. And 2 thumbs up for the strange and enchanting Housekeeping, with Christine Lottie as an oddball free spirit. Finally, 2 thumbs down for Siesta, which contained a lot of interesting scenes that added up, unfortunately, to not very much. And so, Good Morning Vietnam, Robin Williams, our top choice, and Housekeeping, I think, personally, was an even better film. 2 good films this.
And I liked Eddie Murphy's bathroom humor that you didn't like. That's it for this week. Next time, we'll be back with a rare show in which we can guarantee you in advance that we'll each like whatever movie we introduced. You guessed it, it's the best films of 1987. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.